Hello all. So, I thought I'd make a video that was sort of like a tutorial for explaining how to do the triple clip route that I use in sewers, since it's really difficult to try and gain an understanding of how this route works without explaining all of the setups that I use for it and the timings for my jumps and everything like that. And a lot of people seem to think that it's like way too difficult to try and do for single segment runs, but with enough practice you can get this stuff down like really consistently, because none of the stuff in this route has like any RNG to it or randomness. It's all just really precise. So I'm going to try and explain all of the setups that I use for it to make it as consistent as possible. So the first and most important thing to note about this video is that I'm going to be using a specific graphic settings, which is necessary to explain all of the reference points that I use. The graphic settings that I have are all on the minimum settings: low texture quality, nearest texture filter, no antistrophopity, whatever that is. I don't know. It's just all of the special effects and details and stuff, all of their minimum settings. Resolution doesn't get a low, just medium. Yeah. So with all of the texture qualities brought down to their lowest settings, one, you get better performance in the game, so it doesn't lag as much, you get decent loads, and secondly, it gives you these giant fucking pixels for all of the textures, so you can get recognizable patterns that are easy to set up with, like I'm going to be showing you in the setup for this. Also, I know most people do this already, but I'm going to be using the mouse wheel solely for jumping in this video. It's really helpful to get a lot of jump inputs in a short amount of time if you have them bound to mouse wheel instead of space. Crouch doesn't really matter, there isn't any crouching in this route, so I won't be going over that at all. So, now that I have all that stuff taken care of, let's move on to the first of the three clips that you do for this route. It's in this right room here, with the broken ladder, across the hall from the rocks that a lot of other people seem to use. This is the pillar that I used to clip through, and it's the first thing that you want to use a setup for whenever you do this route. First thing to note is that whenever you enter this level, there's a chance that your health might be a little bit low just from taking fall damage in the previous levels, Cistern Entrance 2, or damage in Cistern Entrance 1 if you took a really big hit from the flashback skip. If your health is lower than 50 when you get to this clip, in my experience at least, I've had really difficult times trying to get through this wall with less than 50 health, and you can tell if you're at that health if Daniel is panting whenever he's standing still. You'll see your cursor move up and down even if you have it completely stationary. So as long as you're not doing that, whenever you do this setup, you should be able to clip through the wall really easily. So, the first thing that I do here is stop running whenever I enter in through this doorway right here. If you run into this wall while you're trying to set it up, there's a chance that you can clip through prematurely and then just fall to your death. And that's no good. So, I run, enter this doorway, stop running before I hit the wall, and then I just walk into this corner right here. That ensures that I won't clip through and fall to my death before I want to. Now that I'm here, I've got myself wedged into this corner, ready to do the setup that involves these two columns of giant pixels that you get whenever you have your graphics set to the minimal settings. It's really helpful for this level and several others, because these pixels are really recognizable because they're so huge. There's this row that has these 3 bright ones right here, and to the left there's this large clump of darker gray ones. And the setup that we're going to be using involves this line that goes down the middle of them. Now you won't be crouched doing this. Let's stand up, get back into the corner, and set our cursor above, or no, not above, right at the top of the set of lighter pixels, and directly to the left of it. So your cursor is going to be sitting like right here at the very top and to the left of this top light pixel while you're standing up. Once it's right here, you hold shift to run, start running forward, and then just tap A until you click through the wall. It's that easy. Let's do it again a few more times. Walk into the corner, put your cursor to the left of that set of light pixels at the very top, run forward, and tap left. Easy. One of the things to be wary of is that if you hold A for too long, you end up walking left too far and like falling off of the small amount of floor that you get out of bounds. That's why I'm just tapping it, and once I see that I'm through, I stop tapping A and then just hold forward and to the right for a second and then switch to just holding forward. So yeah. Let's get through this part and go on to the next clip. Did I set that up wrong? There we go. Alright, so now we're in the out of bounds area, and we need to get back in bounds next to that little water thingy. So to do that, we're going to be jumping from this floor into this pillar from the out of bounds side. You can see the left section of the pillar here, right section here. We're going to be jumping into the middle of it, in between those two sections. It's a bit of a long jump to make, so timing where you jump from is pretty essential. And to be helpful with that, again, having the graphics set to low allows you to see the floor you're standing on. If you have the graphics set with some of these options enabled, there's a set of options somewhere that increases the water texture to where you're not able to see below the water and the floor just blurs together with the water. So that's another reason to have your graphics set to really low quality. Anyway, we start over here where the pillar clips us through, and right as this floor ends I'm going to be jumping, turning to the right, aiming for the section in between these two pillars, and then once I hit the pillar from this out of bounds side right here, I'm going to scroll down once, or just scroll in any direction once, and it should clip me through. I'm not going to spam scroll, and I'm not going to not jump at all, and I'll show you why. First I'll try and do it correctly. There we go. So you see I kind of hit the wall, and then as I hit the pillar, that second jump allowed me to get a little bit of extra height needed to actually get through the wall. Now, without jumping, or without scrolling after the jump, you end up hitting that wall and then getting bounced off of it backwards and then falling down. Now there is a chance that you can make it through without doing the jump when you hit the pillar, but it is a lot better to scroll a little bit after hitting this wall right here. Like that. The other extreme would be to just spam scroll as hard as you can whenever you hit that pillar. That's also not recommended, because this pillar has the unfortunate habit of sending you up it if you scroll too hard, and that has an equally bad result. So just want to make sure you aim properly first, and then give it a few light jumps so you can make it in here easy every time. Now, once you're on the other side of that wall, we come to the third section of the sewer route, which is the most difficult, and that is getting on top of this roof from this hallway right here. Now the first thing to note is that this wall right here is nearly inexistent. It's one of the weakest walls in the game. You can see that I'm actually standing inside of it right now. While most walls in Amnesia allow you to clip through them, they rarely let you sit in a neutral state, like inside of them. They want to push you in one direction, be it inbounds or out of bounds. But this one's so weak that it allows you to stand right here in the middle of it. So, whenever you're doing this clip, you would want to completely disregard this wall as having any collision whatsoever, and just treat it as like a vision blocker. You pretty much want to do this jump as if it wasn't there. So, the first important step that I'm going to be doing, or telling you about, is the timing for the jump. I'm going to go through each of these steps bit by bit without doing the entire boost up onto the roof in one part, because there's a lot of different things that happen in this final trick that I want to go over individually. And the first is the timing for the jump. So the second you clip through this wall right here, you're going to want to start doing jump inputs. Ideally, like on the first frame that you see the out of bounds on the other side of this wall. So I'll try and do that now. And you can see that that gives me the jump vertically whenever I'm out of bounds here. If I jump too late, I'm just going to end up falling off this floor, and I won't get any height. And if I jump too early, I'm going to end up bonking my head on this wall right here, or boosting off this pillar to my right. So that's the first important part about this trick, is getting the jump timing down correctly. And even I'm not perfect at this yet. This is usually the part that I screw up in sewers whenever I do end up failing it. But yeah, you can easily see when I'm messing it up and when I'm actually getting it. So now that you understand when you want to do the jump, the next part is getting on top of this slanted wall right here. I'll actually show you the texture of it. It's this wall right here. It slants upwards, pointing to the ceiling that we're trying to get on top of. It's got accurate physics from this side and the other side. And you're actually able to jump on top of this wall and get boosts up it. But it is a pretty harsh angle, so it's a bit slippery and dangerous, and that's, I'm guessing, why a lot of people consider this a dangerous route, is because you're trying to scale this thing without a floor beneath you. Now the reason the jump is so difficult is because there's this section of wall beneath it that's completely vertical. If you don't get the jump, you're not able to get to the slanted parts and the subsequent boosts that come after that. So after you get the jump down, you're able to get to the slanted part of this wall, and you're able to switch your run inputs from just going forward to going forward and to the right. So now I'll try and show you what it looks like whenever you get the boost up onto the walls. So I'm going to clip through this wall. Right after I clip through the wall, I do the jump as I told you before, and then I switch my inputs from running forward to running forward and to the right. So let's try and do that a few times. And I scale up that invisible wall there. Now, once you get the jump timings down initially, and you're able to start scaling on top of this wall, that's pretty much where the dangers of this route end. because the next step is just going to be turning your camera in such a way that you don't end up falling off of this thing. So, what do you do once you start boosting up that slanted wall right there? You want to, first of all, ensure that you've actually hit the slanted wall boost and you're climbing up on top of it. Once you know that you're boosting onto the slanted wall, you're going to turn your camera sharply to the right, and the end goal is going to be getting on top of this pillar right here that we pass next to when we clip through this wall. So, let's see if I can get on top of that. Show what I mean? There we go. I got onto it and I got bounced off. There we go. And you can tell that you got on top of this pillar whenever your character model stops flailing about erratically. So once you're on top of this pillar, you're pretty much safe, because you can just run into the corner here in between this wall and this wall. That's a nice corner to go to, and then you can position your mouse at the intersection point of this line that runs in between the two textures that make up this stone pillar that runs across this ceiling right here. You can see there's the left texture of the stone thing, and here's the top texture. Where those two textures meet, there's this distinct line that intersects with this section of the wall in front of me, running horizontal. And right here, where these two textures meet, that's where you want to set up your cursor. From here, you just run forward and spam jump. Sometimes it'll boost you off to the left, but you can just start scrolling, or then you can just switch to running forward and to the right and scroll back up. There we go. Try and do that smoothly a few more times. Oh yeah, and there's another situation that can happen. Sometimes you can get lucky and skip the intermediate step of standing on top of this pillar, because the boost up the wall sometimes hits or gets you up to a section of the wall high enough on this slope that you can just get up on top of this roof without needing to do the setup on top of that pillar there. But I'll try and get on top of the pillar a few more times just to show you what it looks like again. So yeah, we get on top of the pillar, and then we just look at that intersection, and then run forward, spam jump. And there you go. Now that's the route that I use to get on top of the ceiling, but there's a few more that I'll go ahead and go over if anyone wants to try their hands at that, because there are two other ways that you can get on top of the ceiling that are a little bit faster, but they have some risks associated with them that I'm not too keen about. So the first alternate way that you can get on top of the roof is to get on top of this wooden beam that runs horizontal right here. That involves scaling or traversing this entire section of the wall that's slanted beneath you, and once you're on top of this wooden beam right here, you can use this texture right here to get a boost on top of the roof. I don't really do this route too commonly, so I'm not that great at it, but it is more optimal than the route that I use, because it's more straightforward. You don't have to back up to the pillar. Now, the main danger of using this route, apart from the larger time spent on this dangerous slanted wall, is this section of the slanted wall. Now, it's pretty bad, or it's pretty dangerous to be traversing such a slanted surface without a floor beneath you, irregardless, but this also has a dangerous part, or this wall has a dangerous part to it, in that it's segmented up into these two sections right here. It's not continuous, and the section right here where the two walls meet has this gap inside of it, and if you end up jumping and landing into that gap right there, it oftentimes just eats your forward momentum, and you end up getting caught inside of that section and sliding down and dying. The route that I use doesn't cross this section of the wall, so it avoids its danger, but if you go through this route, you have to deal with that, so be careful. Let's see if I can get it again. And the way that I usually try to avoid it is, while I'm crossing over that section of the wall, I switch from running forward and to the right to just holding forward for like that brief instance that I'm above this section of the wall, because that gives me more incentive to be going this way directly to this pillar rather than staying on the wall longer whenever I'm in this section where it's most dangerous. Now the third way to get on top of the roof, and easily the most fastest, is to actually use that dangerous part that I was just talking about to climb up the entirety of the hallway here. There's actually a section of the ceiling up here at the straight vertical part that's similar to the section above this wooden beam right here, and you can get a boost off of that and climb onto the ceiling, but unlike the other two routes, there's not a flat surface to stand on, so you're going to be trying to catch a boost off of a slanted surface. And if you only get it partial, like if you only get a partial boost upwards, then you end up falling back down onto a slanted surface, which is never good in Amnesia. But I'll try and get that anyway, just to show it off, even though it is the most dangerous part, or the most dangerous route here. Yeah, it might take me a couple of tries to get this, but in an ideal world, that's probably the most fast way to do this, because it doesn't have any intermediate steps of getting on top of these flat surfaces. So yeah, that'll conclude the tutorial, because the rest of the map is pretty simple and similar to what has been done in this map for forever. So, I hope somebody found this helpful, and look forward to seeing more people using this route if they can get it consistent. So, until next time, see you later.